Alberta Primetime with Michael Higgins.
Welcome to Alberta Primetime. Ahead tonight, our Friday panel on the different pro-Canada approaches politicians are taking. But first, dialing up Canadian pride.
I mean, this is such a unique example for the world and beyond.
You can see we got our flags here together. We're better together.
Jeremy Hansen in the long-distance call with the Prime Minister as the crew of Artemis II was en route back home to Earth after their record-breaking loop around the moon. And the Canadian astronaut is the focus of a new book documenting this historic journey. And John Larson, the Calgary-based author of Earthrise, joins us now. John, pleasure to meet you. Welcome to Alberta Primetime.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, so what brings you together with Jeremy Hansen to share in the perspective of the first Canadian to venture to the moon?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what the book is all about. You know, this is going to be an amazing story for Canadians. It already is. The enthusiasm we've seen over the past 10 days since they launched is absolutely phenomenal. I think it has inspired Canadian pride. It has created a new level of understanding amongst Canadians around what we're able to do, you know, from a technology perspective. And also when people see Jeremy, they just realize what an amazing human being he is, along with the rest of his Artemis II colleagues.
Now, you've undoubtedly been tracking the intricacies of this mission. What were you watching for, and how will that factor into the book?
Well, every part of the mission, and in fact, the book talks about the mission, obviously, but also talks about Jeremy. How does a farm kid from Ontario who built a treehouse in his backyard when he was had his dad help him when he was 6, 7 years old, and turned it into a spaceship, then actually end up going around the moon? That's the narrative of the story, and it's such a thrilling and engaging story to tell people. So what I'm looking for over the next few hours here specifically is this splashdown. It's going to be very exciting, and it's a high-risk endeavor. And there have been other high-risk elements of the mission, so we're going to talk a bit about that as well. But really, it's a story about what we can do when we put our mind to it as individuals and as a country.
With that in mind, how do you view the significance of what's being accomplished with the Artemis II mission? Why it's important to go back to the moon and potentially beyond?
Yeah, I would answer that on two levels. One is the technology level, like you mentioned. It's about exploration. It's about, we're not just going back to the moon the way we did over 50 years ago, where the moon was the destination and that was it. We're going back to the moon as a stepping stone. This is about getting back to the moon, living on the moon, using the resources on the moon, and using it as a launch pad to Mars and beyond. So moon is only part one of this very exciting story that's going to roll out. So that's why we're going. That's why it's important. The second reason, I think, is about humanity. You know, I think what people have seen over the last week as we live in a somewhat divided world is that people can come together. People can create big vision and get the world to gravitate around that. And that's a really important societal message for all of us to take home as well.
I want to pick up on that, because we heard Colonel Hansen in the clip off the top referring to the two flags, saying we're better together. What's your read on the geopolitical dynamic here, where Canada is concerned?
Well, I mean, Canada, the Canadian Space Agency, has been working very, very closely with NASA for decades. And part of what the book tracks actually is how we did that, how we went down there back in the late 50s, in fact, and started working intimately with NASA. Canada has been a core part of every space mission success for decades. We were part of Gemini. We were a big part of Apollo. Obviously, we were part of the space shuttle. People know the Canadarm. They've seen the Canadarm version 2 on the International Space Station. And until just recently, we still are working on Canadarm 3, which was supposed to be part of Gateway, and it may now be part of a lunar station. So Canada is very deeply wedded to the space effort, to the U.S., and to our international community.
Yeah, beyond that geopolitical element, you come at this with your own exposure to the world of politics, most recently serving transitional chief of staff for the new mayor of Calgary, Jeremy Farkas, another Jeremy. How do those experiences help shape your own perspective writing about the world of space exploration and where Canada fits into that?
Yeah, well, thank you. And that's an interesting question. And then the other part that I think I would add is that I spent over 3 decades in the military, in the Canadian Forces. And that was one of the things that gave me an appreciation for Jeremy's journey. I've spent time with the fighter community in the military. And so to be able to tell that story as well. But, you know, whether it's politics, whether it's military, whether it's space, it's all about people. And it's about what people bring to the game and the authenticity that they can bring to it. So that's really what I'm looking to explore, and that's the story that I'm trying to tell, so that it can resonate with anybody who picks it up.
And the person at the center of that, how do you think this experience might change Jeremy Hansen? And does he come back with a unique perspective of the planet?
Yeah, and that's a good question. I'm going to have the great honor of speaking to Jeremy next week when he's back, and I spoke to him just a couple of days before he left. I can't speak to how it's going to change him directly. Obviously, I'll leave that to him, but I can reiterate what he said in very recent interviews, which is that it has been a life-affirming experience for him. It has underscored everything that he thought the mission would be in terms of cooperation, in terms of possibility, and certainly for me, having worked with him fairly intimately for over 2 years now, he's the real deal. And it is a very empowering project to be working on, where you sit down every day with somebody who is that dedicated, that talented, and that kind of a human being that cares so deeply about humanity and the people around him.
So you've already lined up a time to sit down and chat about the journey, and that will give you the input to finish the book?
Absolutely. Deadline is looming. And of course, we all want to hear these stories as quickly as we can. He shared a lot of them. The whole crew has shared a lot of them, but I'm sure there's a lot more underneath all of that.
And the title Earthrise, is there
Earthrise.
a significance to that?
Absolutely. Earthrise was the photo that was taken on Apollo 8 when the first 3 men to go around the moon back in 1968. And as they came around the far side, not the dark side, but the far side, they unexpectedly saw Earth rising above the lunar surface. Not something they were prepared for, and they took a photo of it. And that has become the iconic photo that we're all used to of the lunar surface with the Earth in behind it. That photo was called Earthrise. And so we're going back 54 years later to redo that again. And so that's why the book's called Earthrise.
And when do we see Earthrise on the shelves?
Absolutely, in the fall is the idea. I'll leave it to other people to figure out the logistics of that, but that is the intention here, to get this out as quickly as we can. And a lot of people are working really hard to make that happen.
Well, I'm looking forward to picking it up. We'll have to leave it there. Appreciate your time this evening, John. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
That's Calgary-based author and advisor John Larson. From moon mission impact to confronting the question of separation, weighing water usage in Calgary, and contending with bright headlights. Our Primetime This Week panel is in, and joining us this evening, Ellen Parker, the founder and CEO of Parker PR in Calgary, and Tom Keenan, professor in the School of Architecture, Planning and Landscape at the University of Calgary, and the author of Techno Creep. Good evening to you both, and let's begin with the wind down of the Artemis II mission. The crew of 4 making their way home from a 10-day lap around the moon, breaking the record for the farthest humans have traveled from Earth. The first in deep space in more than 50 years. And front and center, where Canada is concerned, that man there, Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen. Ellen, we just heard from Calgary author John Larson on the book he's writing. How inspiring is this for the current crop of young Canadians, young Albertans, to see Colonel Hansen shouldering such a prominent role? Is this the spark for a whole new generation of astronauts?
Yeah, as a mom of 2 boys, I think it's amazing. I'm so proud to hear them speak about this mission. It really highlights that we can dream big, we can, leap and the net will appear. We can take risks. I know a lot of the messaging was, you don't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be best, just do your best and dream big and work really hard. And if it feels scary, go for it. So I think it's just getting back to that really hard work, entrepreneurial spirit that we have here in Alberta. And I'm really inspired by this. I think it's wonderful.
Tom, from either a scientific or a societal standpoint, what do you see the Artemis II lunar mission accomplishing, and could it come at a better time?
Let's start with the psychological viewpoint. I was so glad to hear John Larson is going to do a post-flight interview, because I wanted to guarantee he'll be interviewing a totally different Jeremy Hansen. And here's my proof. When I was on the University Senate, we had an astronaut for chancellor. His name was Dr. Robert Thirst. And we had a game among the senators, which was, how long will it take till he mentions that he flew in space or he was an astronaut? And the mean time we worked out was 90 seconds. So whenever he would open his mouth, soon out of it came, and when I was in space or when I looked down. So I guess the first thing to know about is that he's going to be a different person to get interviewed next time. Some enterprising reporter dug up how much they get paid, which I thought was kind of interesting. US $152,258, and they get paid the same amount whether they're up there or down here. I think there's going to be a gold mine of both scientific and political aspects to this as well. Some people are saying we might want the moon not just for its rare earths, kind of an oxymoron there, but also for water, because apparently that's something we're going to be needing.
Yeah. Now, well, with that in mind, Ellen, the next big step, returning to the surface of the moon. How big of a door do you see that opening in the future?
Yeah, I think it's incredible. You know, we've been there 5 times before, 44 years ago. I'm kind of surprised it's been this long, but of course there's huge budgets for this. And now that we're, making this more sustainable, the next step could be Mars. And we have public and private money going into this initiative right now with SpaceX. So definitely more sustainable for sure. I think it's very exciting. I agree with Tom, and can't wait to see where this ends up taking us.
Yeah, and there are other nations queuing up to be there as well. Okay, up next for us, differing political approaches to confronting a possible referendum in October on separation, starting with New Democrats countering the independence movement with their own pro-Canada campaign.
We're not repeating the mistake of the people who thought Brexit would never pass. We're getting out there now, we're mobilizing people, we're showing them how and where and when to vote, and we're helping them talk to their neighbors.
Alberta New Democrats say their new group is needed because of rules that may limit advertising by those behind the Forever Canadian campaign.
Think of it as sort of going in the same direction in 2 separate canoes. I still would prefer if our MLAs, who swore a vote of allegiance to the Crown to be MLAs in the first place, vote on this issue. What's so difficult?
The Premier says a government committee will determine what to do with the successful Forever Canadian campaign. She's also watching the pro-separation petition, which she says is a way for citizens to express their view on policy different from the government.
I hope that if we do end up having this question debated in October, that I'll be able to do some more convincing, because I think Canada is worth fighting for.
As to whether the other 2 groups might merge, Thomas Lukaszuk says it's unlikely because of Forever Canadian's nonpartisan stance, but he believes there is room for both. Okay, Tom, what do you make of the approaches being taken by the government and the opposition at this juncture, and which might you expect to have more of an impact with Albertans?
Oh, politicians, they always have to play to their base, and they come up with some amazing ways to twist the words in the English language. The phrase sovereign Alberta within a united Canada that rolls off the Premier's tongue is a complete oxymoron. I looked up the definition of sovereign: possessing supreme, absolute, or independent power and authority. I don't know how the Premier would square independent, absolute with being within Canada. So it's really just an attempt to play to their base. Separation is not a hot topic in Calgary, certainly not in Edmonton. But I guess if you drive 100 kilometers in any other direction, you might find people who are keenly interested in it. Well,
now, Ellen, there's certainly a debate building here, but how engaged do you feel politicians are going to need to be if it is that the pro-separation group gets its wish and a vote on independence is held during the planned October 19th referendum?
Yeah, they're going to have to be very engaged. I mean, we're seeing such engagement happen right now with, our opposition sort of marginalizing that group. They're kind of becoming louder. Our UCP government is giving them a voice. I think their strategy is to leverage the federal government to make policy change, but this could backfire and we could have a referendum. So I think that with respect to, the PR and the marketing that's going to go into this, it's going to be very time consuming. It's going to be costly. It's occupying so much energy and time, and we're still talking about it. This is, I think, the fifth prime time where we've discussed this topic. So hopefully it can be put to bed and we can continue to be a strong Canada moving forward.
It's one of those topics we can't escape talking about. It's there. All right. Also there, time for a break. And when we come back, plans to curb water usage in Calgary and what to do about bright headlights. More from our Primetime This Week panel in a moment. Welcome back. The City of Calgary aims to curb water usage over the next 15 years, all part of planning for sustainability. And while there may still be some snow on the ground, it means thinking ahead to changes on hot summer days.
The outdoor use is targeting the watering of lawns based on sprinklers or irrigation systems. So it's really about trying to reduce the use of treated drinking water to water lawns.
The 11-point plan to reduce use includes incentives for water-friendly landscapes as well as efficient fixtures and appliances, and could mean homeowners would only be allowed to use sprinklers on certain days of the week.
We're now asking Calgarians to sacrifice and not have a high-pressured shower or not to go and get a sprinkler on a hot summer day or water their lawns. So I don't think Calgarians are going to be happy about it.
The target is a 20% reduction in water usage by 2040, protection for Calgary's two rivers, and infrastructure treating and distributing water.
So this really provides an opportunity for Calgary to implement something that has had successful measures across the board and to really have our residents be able to make an actionable plan.
The plan would see hundreds of millions of dollars fast-tracked to repair and upgrade the city's struggling water system, which some on council say should be the priority before more rules are put in place.
For me, it's really important for us to actually look at the city's own business first before asking Calgarians to change their behaviors.
Calgary loses about 20% of its water through leaks in an aging system. Tom, this water efficiency plan is yet to be debated by council. That's set to happen later this month. But is it that far of a stretch for Calgarians to embrace something like an outdoor watering schedule?
Calgarians, Albertans, Canadians, all people hate being told what to do. But I have to tell you, it is working in other places. In Perth, Australia, which I know well, there's a twice-a-week watering schedule based on your house number, a $500 fine for non-compliance. One unintended side effect, because I sat a house down there, is artificial lawns. So they use this like plastic grass stuff. And we're just finding out now from the football world that maybe that stuff is toxic, so there can be unintended consequences. So, of course, people won't like it. But, I went out, and I don't want to hold it up because I don't want to advertise the brand. I bought a $500 programmable lawn sprinkler, and I can't wait until it's time to try it this year.
Ellen, how do you see this playing with the current political climate in Calgary?
Oh, well, it's going to be another big, controversial, very polarizing situation here, I'm sure, in Calgary. We'll have many people who are very pro the idea. It will bring back possibly some trauma around COVID, where people are being told what to do. Neighbors tattling on neighbors is going to turn into a whole thing. I do agree with our mayor that it's great to fix what's broken and really, invest the taxpayer dollars into taking care of our infrastructure. I'd like to see how much can be saved when that happens. I know 20% of our water is wasted currently. So yes, it's just going to be like everything these days, very polarizing, conflicting, And we have very short summers, so I also consider that. You know, it's very few months here in Calgary where you actually have to water your grass. And I also do think it is important to catch rainwater and be environmentally friendly and conscientious as well. So I think two things can be true.
All right. For us, one more topic, and that is Transport Canada is seeking feedback on an issue that has some shielding their eyes, that being the brightness of headlights and their impact on motorists.
They've gone from bi-xenons to LED lights. I mean, they used to have incandescent light bulbs before. So the brightness and the clarity of the headlights has changed drastically.
Now, Transport Canada has launched an online survey asking about factors contributing to headlight glare and how it affects driving, and if anything, what should be done about it?
We don't have too many car that it's really bright in your headlight or in your rearview mirror. That's kind of the worst.
I think maybe some of the new lights are brighter, but it doesn't bother me.
Christian Gersdorf, a longtime auto tech and sales executive, says lights that are too bright are often aftermarket.
And putting those bright blue headlights in there, a person really has to make sure that they're checking what the light bulbs themselves say to make sure that they're actually allowed to be used.
The headlight survey, if you're interested, is available on Transport Canada's website until April 20th. Ellen, how much of an issue do you consider modern headlights to be? Can driving at night be a challenge when meeting other vehicles?
For me, it hasn't been so much of a challenge. I drive on the highway occasionally to and from hockey tournaments, but it is definitely annoying. I would want to just have the regulators ensure that cars and factories who are making these cars are following some sort of an order. I think it's very costly to run a survey like this and also ask for public opinion. I would look at statistics around the Institute for Highway Safety, I believe, because I think when I checked that, it was very, very few complications on the highway are a result of this. However, feedback is important, but I think it's costly, and I think there could be a better way of going about it.
Tom, bright headlights, is this just a consequence of changes in technology, the price we pay for having improved visibility as drivers?
Yeah, it's definitely better light bulbs, but I noticed just yesterday a car got behind me on the highway, and it didn't just have bright headlights, it had these 2 rows of orange lights around them. And I don't think it was aftermarket, I think the car came that way, and the thing looked so angry. I literally, even though I was doing the speed limit in the left lane, pulled over to get away from this angry-looking car. So, you know, there's this whole psychological dimension of making cars look like beasts. And don't even get me started on those square-looking Cybertruck things, right?
Okay. All right. We won't do that, Tom, I promise. We do, though. We have about 20 seconds each. So how about you pick a winner or a loser? Ellen, you're up first.
Last night, we had the tarp auction for the Calgary Stampede here in Calgary. They raised over $6 million, smashing record-breaking, sign of a good economy here in Calgary.
Yeah, some eyeballs popping over that one. Tom, take it home.
Loser, algorithmic pricing, setting different prices based on your buying history, and we tell people clear your cookies and use VPNs. Most people don't even know what algorithmic pricing is, but Google it, and sometime we'll have a longer talk about that.
Indeed we will. Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you both. Hope you have an awesome weekend.
Thanks.
Now, here are a few responses to a recent story posted by CTV News about the impact the floor crossings on Parliament Hill having within the opposition Conservatives. Mark says, you just know that it must have been really bad inside the Conservative backroom to make someone like Marilyn Gladu give up on the party. Corbett says, I'm not going to claim the whole Conservative Party is toxic, but its leadership absolutely is. Martin says the toxicity crossed to the Liberals. Teresa says, I guess the floor crossers want to be in a party with a real leader. And Canman says the floor crossing in itself is absolutely toxic and a complete destruction of democracy. Remember, you can always have your say. Email us anytime at comments@ albertaprimetime.com. That is our program for tonight. Have a great evening and a great weekend, everyone. From all of us at Alberta Primetime, thank you for watching, and join us again next time.